Welcome back to another episode of Raw Business, where I show you how my business of Flip English, teaching people how to have better pronunciation and more confidence in their voice, makes or loses money. In the last episode, we had a look at what it looks like and what it feels like to get to 10,000 income per month, not profit, income. And today, I'm going to do something a little bit different, and I'm going to show you how I lose money on Facebook and Instagram advertisements. So a bit of a change of scenery because we're using a whiteboard to show everything that's going on, and we're going to go through the entire process of why meta ads are so difficult and how they're actually losing money. So let's have a look first at the overall funnel. So people come to your Facebook advertisements, Instagram or Facebook, they come to your landing page, they have a look, and then some people go through and they actually end up buying something. So to make matters simple, let's say that we spend 4,000. We spend 4,000 euros on meta ads every single month. What of course Facebook will do is it will drive traffic to our landing page. So people now come to our landing page. Let's assume that it's a 1-to-1 ratio, which means for every €1 we spend, we get one person that clicks on our website. That's not too bad, right? That means 4,000 people every month will click on your landing page and start scrolling through what it is that you're offering. Then of course what happens, we have two conversion moments. So the first conversion moment is how many people actually go from your landing page to your sales page, and the second conversion would be how many people actually end up buying something. As long as they get to the sales page and put in their information, at least you can send them an email. At least you can, follow up with them. You can be like, hey man, I saw you looking. You clearly want to improve your English. You've read through the whole thing. You've clicked on all the buttons, but you haven't purchased anything. This conversion that happens here, and I'm not going to complicate with how much the conversion is to the landing page and to the sales page. It's usually around 1 to 3%. So that means that, and I'm not a mathematician, so I'm not even going to bother calculating this, but 4,000 people come to your website, 1 to 3% will end up converting, and it's not a lot of individuals. If I do some quick math, if it was 1,000 people, 2% would be 20, which means times 4 would be 80 people. Boom, there you go, fast mathematics, right? So we've been able to get about 80, and let's say it's 80 to 100, right? Let's say it's 80 to 100 just to make the mathematics as we move forward a little bit easier. But about 80 to 100 people every single day will end up on your sales page and hopefully converting. So of course, what happens is when somebody goes to the sales page and buys, my current product is 97 euros. And we can imagine that if this many people actually were to buy, that is not too shabby. And of course, most of you would assume that if this is the amount of sales that you make for 97 euros, you're going to have, well, a lot of profit, right? Because even if you just take the 100, that's almost 10,000 minus 4,000, and we have profit. Here's where things get a little bit more complicated. So first and foremost, I do occasionally run discounts, which means that this 97 euro is probably more closer to like 83 euros, which means we have a slightly lower margin. But even with the reduced pricing, you would still think, well, there's a lot of income to be made. Here's where things get a little bit more funky. See, your landing page is a monthly fee, which means you are losing, it's actually 97 euros every single month. There's other fees associated with it. Obviously, running a business requires a bunch of other things, time and money investment. So there's probably about another 500 euros that we have to keep in mind for expenses of running the actual business. Every time you sell something, you sell it through Stripe or PayPal. And what happens is Stripe and PayPal will gladly take about 2.9% of each transaction. And if that's not enough, for every 4,000 euros that I spend on Facebook advertisements, the government will come and they will demand another 1,000 to be paid on top of that. Suddenly these numbers start to get a lot closer. So to illustrate my point, if we were to sell at an average price of 83 euros, we have the bottom margin, which is the 80 of them sold. That would be about 6,640 euros that we would get in. Facebook ads are currently spending 5. There's another 500 we want to add on top for business expenses. The 2.9% actually reduces the original value of 6.64. And so suddenly this altogether is about 5,600. And this has to be reduced by 2.9%. And you can start to imagine that these two numbers start looking a hell of a lot similar, which means that you put a lot of money into the machine and you get a lot of money out of the machine, but not a whole lot of money stays in your pocket. And that, from the perspective of somebody who is trying to run a business, probably sounds like a nightmare. In fact, most of you are probably asking yourself now, well, why do you run advertisements in the first place? Like, why would you try and why would you risk spending all this money every single month if it's not guaranteed that it's going to make you much profit or any profit at all? In fact, on some months, because let's say during the summer vacation where most people are bathing in the beautiful sun, they are not exactly, well, interested in learning and improving their English, which means that they're less likely to buy something, which means that you actually have less income. And Facebook meta ads, they can sometimes, this is something that very few people talk about, they can sometimes go full on, what the hell, and they break. This shit breaks. And that means that this part of your funnel gets completely annihilated, leading to zero traffic to your landing page, and as such, zero in your sales. And so you can say goodbye to your 6,640 euros that you might be making at the minimum. And, well, this still stays. The money you're spending in the machine is still very much there. And there have been months where Facebook ads have broken, whether it was Meta that made the mistake or it was me that made the mistake. And of course, money didn't make it through my funnel. But the only reason why I will always, and I mean always, spend money on meta ads, and in fact, why I will be spending more. So from 4, let's make it to 8. Let's make it to 18. You know, there's people that run big brands. They spend probably as much money as I spend in a single month. They spend in a single day. When I started Facebook advertisements, I was spending 20 euros per day. Then I increased that to 40, and at the moment I'm spending probably about 120. And I want to go up. I want to increase the price all the way. I think all the way up to 1,000. I'm comfortable spending about 1,000 euros every single day. But, and this is what you have to understand, when it comes to running Facebook advertisements, the most important thing, in my opinion, is that you are doing it because you want to build a personal brand. For every euro that I spend, I get one person to my landing page. That's one person that's become aware of my brand, of what I'm doing and what I'm trying to teach. And that means they're more likely to convert over a long period of time because I'm going to be bombarding them with advertisements. But more so important, I am increasing my followers. I am, reaching out bigger portions of people. The thing that people usually don't see is they don't see that, okay, you've spent money on something, money comes in, some money doesn't come in. What they fail to see is the long-term process, the thinking behind why you're spending money. There was a month, I particularly remember, I think it was June this year, that I think I lost 1,500 euros on Facebook Meta ads. And to most people, that would be like, why are you doing that? 1,500 euros is most people's average salary in my country. Okay? Their whole month, they work 40 hours a week. That's the amount of money they get on their paycheck. That's the amount of money that I burnt. But I also gained a lot of followers with that, and consequently, I gained, 1 or 2 coaching clients, which in its entirely paid for this entire expense. And I want people to understand that when you're spending money on Facebook ads, I look at this as an investment. Okay? This is me investing into myself. And it's very difficult to explain this to the average Joe because I'm going to be very mean here for a moment, but people don't even realize that investing into their English is an investment. It's not an expense. And in this mess that is here on the whiteboard, I haven't even talked about the juiciest part. And the juiciest part is how I plan to go from having this net zero, which happens because you can never really control the entire funnel, by having one cheeky little bit, which is that you have something called a one-time offer. Otto, okay? One-time offer. What does this mean? It means that for every person that comes from Meta advertisement, comes to your landing page, goes, hey, you know what, this kind of looks cool, let me click on that big green button, goes to your sales page, and it's like, you know what, this is actually a really good deal. I get an ebook, an audiobook, a bunch of video course material, some templates. Yes, I think that's well worth the investment of 97 euros. Heck, there's even a discount that's available today because it's Thanksgiving. So they buy the book. And then instead of being told, hey, thank you for buying, this is it, they actually go to a separate page called the one-time offer, where we give them an even better deal, but a more expensive one. Something in the realms of, between 200 and 300 bucks. And we tell them, look, for a limited time only, for the next couple of minutes, I'm offering to you a really, really cheeky and brilliant deal. You're going to get some coaching calls, or you're going to get an additional course, or you're going to get access to community, or you're going to get one-on-one help, whatever it might be. You offer them something that is only available at that given time, and you charge them about, 2 to 4 times as much as you would for your original product. Now, rest assured, most people won't buy it. Most people will just go and say, you know what, I've just spent, $100. It's a lot for me. I'm not looking to invest more, even though that is an investment, because you're investing into yourself, into your English. I think there should be no price tag on investing into you, but for some reason humans have that. And so what actually ends up happening is all the sales, every single sale that happens in the one-time offer, every single one of them is net profit on top. Which means that if our original funnel, which when you do digital products, it's very difficult to have a digital product that sells through advertisements that makes money. It's easier to do it if it's a physical product, especially if it's one that you would be buying recurringly, right? Like if, you have a dog or a cat and it requires food, then you can reorder that over and over again. It makes sense. You would advertise that. But an ebook, you're only going to buy it once. And so there's no recurring revenue coming in, which means that you only have that one-time cash that you're grabbing. But again, look, if we take, these 80 to 100 people that come to the one-time offer and we run the same numbers again, right? We just assume that the conversion rate is yet again going to be between 1 to 3%. So let's say 2% of these people. So 100 people come to your website. 2% are going to also take the one-time offer. Let's say that your one-time offer costs, I don't know, let's say it's $500 for easy calculations. And if our math is not correct, from 100 people, 2% would be 2 people, which means $500 is now suddenly 1,000 that you have in profit every single month. A little bit of a risk. You can see a lot of conversion around this 1 to 3% number, which I think is kind of the industry average. And it just makes sense, at least in my mind, that everything that this does, what this is one big, and I'm going to completely butcher this whole board, but this is one massive cash cycle. Okay, the whole concept behind everything that's going on this is the ugliest image I've ever made on this whiteboard, but there's a dollar sign somewhere in the middle. My point being is that this is money that rotates. This is money that continuously swims. And so all the money that comes out, it goes right back into the machine and it just boom, and it just keeps twisting, like a big washing machine. And the concept behind it is that you get more people eyes onto your brand, onto what you're trying to do, onto your project, onto your ideas. And I'm talking to you about this actually because of one particular reason, which is I speak to so many people, especially my coaching clients. A lot of them are trying to get started in a digital world, a digital business, and they have an idea to sell something. My advice is, even before you start selling the thing, even before you have the thing perhaps, go on Facebook Meta Ads, spend $20 per day for 1 week, right? 5 or 7 days. You'll spend between 100 and 140 euros, bucks, pounds, Zimbabwe dollars, whatever it might be. And the concept being is that you're going to see within that 1 week, with an investment of only 100, if people are interested in that. Now, worst case scenario, you've spent 100 bucks and you've gotten a couple of followers and nobody bought from you. In that case, take it on the chin, realize that, hey, maybe this product doesn't have the right audience. Maybe I just didn't target the right people. But generally speaking, you can scrap the project and you can try something new. Best case scenario, you will sell something, you will be break even, which means that you've spent 100, you've gotten yourself 100, you've proven that the concept works, that what you're trying to make actually has value, merit, and you can then proceed with this conglomerate of a mess that I've made on my whiteboard. But your meta ads lead people to the landing page. On the landing page, something happens. Maybe it's not that you're selling a product. Maybe it's a free consultation. Maybe you have a different type of funnel. Maybe you're offering something for free. You give them something for free, like a free little PDF or a free guide. And then when that is done, then you bring them to an upsell later down the line, right? So maybe the sales page happens in between here. So the landing page leads them to a product. In that free product, there's another link, and that link then takes them to the landing page. You can make this as complicated as you want to. I've made it as simple because my brain relatively is slow when it comes to understanding all these things. I'm still pretty much fresh to the world of advertisements, and at the end of the day, I'm playing with my own money. And that's the thing that hurts the most, is every single day, $100 will be spent, or $1,000 will be spent, or even 10, $20 can be a lot for people. And it hurts because at the end of the day, you look at your phone and it's like, I've sold nothing. I've spent this money, but I've sold nothing. And it's happened that it's gone several days. Can you imagine several days of you spending, boom, $100, boom, $100, $100, $100. It's like you're just throwing them out the window. It's just like, phew, just cash just flying. And you feel demotivated, and you feel hurt, and you start to not notice that people are following you. You don't realize that a couple of individuals that have a lot of followers and are looking for a coaching client and are willing to pay thousands for it have started to follow you because you're blinded by the fact that you're hemorrhaging money. You always have to look at the big picture. Look at a monthly level, look at a quarterly level, look at a yearly level if you have to. But understand that this is always going to be an investment. You're always taking money and you're putting it into your investment because it is you that will benefit from it. You will get followers, you will get recognition, you will get attention, eventually you will get sales. And then exactly that happens. A couple of days of nothing and then everything all at once. You have a day where like 5 people buy your main product, 2 people buy the one-time offer, 1 coaching client gets sold, and suddenly you've made more money in one day than you would have made with a regular salary within 3 or 4 months. So you have to trust the process, but you also have to look at it from a mathematical point of view. And ironically, that is what I'm actually trying to do. I'm trying to understand more of these 1 to 3%. I'm trying to understand the conversion rates. There are all these fancy vocabulary words or abbreviations or, shortened versions of what something stands for. CAC stands for client acquisition cost, and then you have conversion rates and ROAS, which is return on investment, and all these fancy things that we have to take into account. But in general, you spend some money, that costs you cash, government comes for some of the cash. Oh, and by the way, we forgot to mention the big part, of course, that after all the cash is made, the government will come for it again. So you have to also account for that. There's always going to be hemorrhaging of cash on your entrepreneur journey, and nothing is ever black and white. And I feel that when people hear that somebody's made $10,000 or they've made $1,000, they've made $1 million, whoever cares, they never look at the nitty-gritty behind it. I wanted to show you that the reason why this whiteboard right now looks like this, it's a complete mess, is because business behind the scenes often is precisely like this. And trust me, my head, when it comes to thinking about these things, looks exactly the same way, which is why I've simplified it and tried to make sure that I understand it where money, conversion, second conversion, third conversion, look at the in and out and realize, am I making money? Am I losing money? If I'm losing, how much is it? And is it justified with the amount of eyes and attention that I receive? And if I am making money, can we make a little bit more of it? Because at the end of the day, this is an automated process. Kind of. Because again, what people don't talk about is how meta ads are supposed to be recorded. And that is something that I want to talk to you about in our next Raw Business video. Where I'm going to show you the behind the scenes of how I record meta advertisements, how I'm able to create ads that are 7 to 10 minutes long, that people watch in their entirety, that don't even include a call to action sometimes because they're not sales ads. They are long form informative ads with which I'm trying to actually increase people's attention span. And they are unscripted, unprepared, unplanned, unthought of, completely 100% improvised. And the only way for me to really show you the behind the scenes is by setting down the camera and recording them live as we do it. But for that, you're going to have to wait until the next episode of Raw Business. In the meantime, let me know what you think about the comments below. If you have any questions about this particular funnel, if you have any questions about business, because I'd love to show you more about what goes on behind the scenes of Flip English, my personal brand, because this is just a very small part of the complicated cog, the machinery that goes on behind the scenes. And it's taken me years to fully understand. And as I say that, I realize that I still don't understand pretty much most of it. This 1 to 3% conversion rate is also just about how much I understand about business. And that tells you a lot. That's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.